We're here today with Trevor Stubbs, the author. Trevor, hello.
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 Tom.
Right, it's been a long day in the bookshop today. You've
Yeah.
been talking to customers about your books, signing a few,
Yeah.
and having wonderful conversations. So, Trevor, for anyone watching now who's not familiar with yourselves, with your books, how would you describe yourself? And please explain a little bit about your books.
Okay. Well, I'm retired officially, so I spend all my time now writing or working with young people.
Sure.
I'm a retired vicar, which means that they wheel me in when people are on holiday or
Sure.
there's a vacancy somewhere, and I do some Sundays and I do a few weddings and baptisms here and there. But I mainly work with young people.
Sure.
And so young people's festivals, youth group that I belong to. I've got my name on a special hoodie with youth group on my back.
Sure.
So I'm really enjoying being young again.
That's good. That's cool. And when you're not doing that, you've written several books.
Well, these books are about young people.
Yeah.
So young people are the protagonists, although, and of course young people will be interested, although I know a lot of folk who are older generations like reading them because
Sure.
they don't mind if it's young people that save the universe.
Yeah.
And they do like reading about young people, and they're also interested in the contemporary challenges that young people face.
Yeah.
And it helps get to know what's out there and how young people are thinking and that sort of thing. And being older myself, and remembering what it was like when I was younger, I can see the difference, and I try and bring that out in the book.
Sure. No, understood. So, how many books have you written to
So
date?
I have written 4 books, all
Okay.
in the Whitegate series that are published, and I have a trilogy which is on the cusp of being published. I hope to bring that out by the end of next month, September.
Sure. Okay.
So
things coming out
so
soon.
so that's coming out soon. But the Kicking Tree and its sequels, Ultimate Justice and the Winds and Wonders and the Spark, all part of the Whitegate's adventure series.
And how would you describe what they're about? What happened?
Okay, so the White Gate is a fantasy element in which they can travel through or step through White Gates into new planets and new worlds and new adventures. And they meet one another.
Where do you get your idea from to write these books? The story, is it an idea you had in your head for a long time?
Well, how it happened was when we were working in South Sudan, there was no evening entertainment at all,
Sure.
and it got dark at 6:30. There wasn't necessarily any electric light, and no television that we had.
Sure.
So I got telling my wife stories to amuse her,
Sure.
and she said, "You know, that's really interesting. That was a good story. You should write that down."
Yeah.
Well, if you know anything about Africa, if you call a meeting for 10 o'clock, people will arrive round about 11:30.
Right.
But of course I was always there at 10. And instead of reading or doing other work, I got one morning to just writing down the story I was telling my wife the night before, and it grew from there. And that was about Jack and Jolly and about their adventures through White Gates. And so we've gone on from there, and I then retired from South Sudan, and I wondered what I was going to do for the time. And
Sure.
I thought, well, I might actually try and publish some of these stories. So they got put together into the Kicking Tree, and eventually it came out in 2014, published, and then people, it was only supposed to be a one-off. But people then said to me, "Whoa, this is good. When's the next one coming out?" And I got the bug, and so I then started with their children. And so the next 3 books are about the same family, but the younger people in that. And so they're all teenagers who are finding that they have the gift or the invitation of wide gates around the universe, and each of the places that they get to go to are challenging, and they get to be useful, which is something that I've always found I just wanted to be.
Yeah, to be useful for
South Sudan, to do something there for people, not just to be a tourist, but
Yes.
to see if we can do something, we can be useful, we can contribute something that perhaps the folk there can't because of the things that surround them, their difficulties. So somehow or other these young people bring something to the situation that helps solve it. And I believe that is true of young people of today, not just young people today. That if you look to the skills, talents that you've got, and you trust in yourself, and you trust in the Creator to give you the strength, you can actually achieve things and make things different and help people.
I mean, that's an important message, isn't it?
Yeah.
To hear today, regardless of your age, and it's quite nice to have that in fiction, because not every story, whether it's young adults or adulthood, has that kind of philosophy behind it, as in you're here to do something other than just short personal gain or
Well, that's right.
riches or whatever.
I mean, yes, if it's about self-fulfillment, but you get self-fulfillment through looking after other people. I believe that's how it works.
Yeah, sure.
And so often people feel that the world doesn't work for them because they're just looking inwards instead of outwards. And there are authors around that I find challenging because they don't give a positive message. They're negative. They are critical. They may be critical of spirituality. They may be narrow-minded, even if they do have a faith in something bigger than themselves. They may simply be going round in internal circles and don't show an interest in the wider world. But there are so many interesting and important things to tackle. From climate change to conservation of species to saving folk from starvation that don't need to starve. People dying in hundreds of thousands of malaria when it can be cured just by giving them mosquito nets. All sorts of things that can be done if we have peace and a bit more security and a bit more willingness to work together as a team.
Sure. Again, these are important ideas and worth exploring in a kind of a fiction way.
And this gives. The idea is that young people are able to enjoy themselves in reading the fiction, and it's a way in where they wouldn't sit down and necessarily read all the devotional or non-fiction stuff that goes around.
So your forthcoming trilogy, is it completed? Is all 3 books
it's all completed.
Written? And it's roughly what's it about, concept-wise?
It's called Flip, and it's about 5 young people in particular who are afflicted or gifted, depending on which way you want to look at it, with the ability to flip into a 5th dimension. So they might just be carrying on in the normal way, as teenagers do in the ordinary 4-dimensional world, and suddenly they flip into a 5th dimension and find themselves in a scary place and they're trying to sort out how they can cope with this, and they find that eventually they are referred to a clinic in London, with a professor who is investigating the phenomenon, but he's interested in getting a Nobel Prize for his investigation, and doesn't really care so much about them as individuals.
Sure.
And then there's some other organisation that gets involved that wants to exploit them, and so they find themselves up against it and in real danger. And they are, at the same time, they're flipping in and out of the fifth dimension, and exploring that. And so the first book takes them up to the first major crisis, and I won't tell you what that is,
Sure,
because that will spoil it.
Okay.
And then the second book is a middle phase of more dramatic and unexpected happenings, fifth dimension wise, and then in the third book all comes to a massive head, so I suppose it won't be a spoiler to say that somehow they managed to come through.
Sure, sure.
And so it's a proper trilogy. These are standalone, although they're a series. This is a trilogy. You can't read book 3 without reading books 1 and 2 off flip. They are shorter than these.
Yep.
So, I've got the covers last week, so we're now getting to the point where we'll be publishing them, and I'm hoping they'll be out by the end of September.
Fantastic.
And that's going to be the latest. And now you're going to ask me what I'm working on next, and the answer is I'm letting it brew. There will be something. There will be something, but it's not going to be White Gates, and it's not going to be Flip. Mm-hmm. It'll be something that is different again.
Would you give any advice, or what advice would you give to any aspiring writers out there that's watching this? Would love to write a book but never have. What is the important do's and don'ts from your experience?
Well, I have 10 tips for authentic writing. I won't go through all 10 tips with you, but the first one is, if you want to be authentic, write from what you know and research from there.
That's good advice.
But don't try and emulate somebody else, or the number 2 is use language that you normally would use, and words you'd normally use. Don't try to be eloquent. Don't make your sentences long, and be that sort of thing. You don't have to aspire to be what you're not.
Yes.
Try and write with what you know, in the way that you would write it. Where to begin? Begin with an idea. Start with an idea. Get your idea, and then it may be that in that idea you might start with characters, something that might interest your character, and so you can develop those characters, and you can see how those characters could be involved. Then you think of a plot. And work through your plot arc. Your beginning, your ending, and the adventures that happen on the way. And so make sure you've got it, not necessarily a more detailed plan, but don't just start with chapter 1 and not know where you're going to go.
Sure.
And be prepared to rewrite and rewrite. But start with the idea, and then let your characters grow, and your characters will tell you what they will and will not do.
Yeah, yeah.
You can't make a character act out of character.
Sure.
So if you want the book to go in a certain direction, or the story to go in a certain direction, necessarily you might have to introduce a character that will drive it that way. So then that will say, well, get another character in, but make sure your characters are real.
Yeah, understood.
Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. I think that's very good advice.
Yeah.
how can people contact you or follow you or find out more about you?
Right, well, I'm on the wonderful website www.trevorstubbs.co.uk.
Okay.
So that's very easy.
Yep.
Just Google Trevor Stubbs, and you'll find my website. There's a contact page there, and it tells you about the books that I've written, and I'm about to revise it now with the new ones. This only next month it'll be revised.
Sure.
And I'm also on Twitter and Facebook, also Instagram, although I don't do a lot on Instagram.
Sure.
I know young people like Instagram or whatever, but it's pictures, and it isn't something necessarily that.
Sure.
But I
Twitter's
Twitter is
well.
Twitter is well, yes. For young people, a lot of young people don't have Twitter, but adults can follow me on Twitter.
Yeah.
I have a lot of other writers follow me on Twitter.
Yeah, a lot of writers like Twitter.
And of course the BookPotato
Yeah, of course, and
BookPotato 3.
Our website, on our social media, and we'll have Trevor's new books on our website and in the shop. Trevor, thank you very much for coming in today.
My pleasure. I've enjoyed being here. It's been a good day.
Good.
And your coffee is excellent.
Thank you.